it triggered something within me that I'm actually losing it. Like I'm losing my life. I'm losing the real things in my life. Yeah, I might lose my family. I might lose my home. I might lose my career. I might lose my everything. These were not hallucinations, but they were like very visual, intrusive thoughts. Like a lot of scenarios happening at the same time in your head, thoughts with no pattern. And I remember going through those photos, like my inner circle and my friends and my family, and I was like, I don't feel anything. It's almost like I don't know them.
Hey everyone, I'm Sean O'Connor, author of the Depersonalization Manual, and today I'm speaking with Ivo Runčák, joining us from Bratislava, Slovakia. Ivo is just about to turn 24 years old. His experience with depersonalization derealization disorder began on what seemed like a normal night out with friends. After a few beers, he took a puff from a HHC Vape, a substance that had recently become popular across Europe. That single puff triggered a panic attack, hallucinations, and severe anxiety. He spent the night on a friend's couch, and by the next morning, he was in full-blown DPDR. Ivo went through 2 bouts of DPDR. The first lasted about a week, but the second, which began 3 months later, lasted for over a year, bringing his total recovery journey to about 15 months. He experienced just about every symptom in the book, but the most persistent included a feeling like he was having an identity crisis, ruminations, emotional numbness and exhaustion, apathy towards others, various phobias about elevators, knives and sharp objects, a fear of hurting others, intrusive thoughts, disconnection from loved ones and from reality itself. It was an incredibly intense and exhausting experience, but the good news is that Ivo has since made a full recovery. He reached out to me recently and wrote, "I've experienced every DPDR symptom in the book, and for a long time I thought I'd never recover. But your manual gave me the guidance and clarity I needed. I want to share my story because if it helps even one person to feel less alone, it's worth it." And Ivo is here with us today to do just that, to talk about his experience with DPDR, what helped him recover, and what life is like now on the other side. Ivo, you're very welcome to the channel. Thanks for being with us today.
Hello, Sean. Thank you for having me. And hello to everyone that's watching.
It's a pleasure to have you on the channel, Ivo. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name is Ivo. I'm 24. I'm from northeast of Slovakia, but currently I'm based in Bratislava, Slovakia, which is a capital city. I enjoy sports. I study at a Comenius University in Bratislava. I study as an English teacher and teacher of physical education. I also coach volleyball. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm just a normal guy.
That's really cool. So you're studying to become a professional PE teacher, is that correct?
Yeah.
Fantastic. How is that going for you?
It's been great so far. I had a period in life where I was trying to find myself, what I should study, because after high school I really had no idea. So I tried economics school, but that wasn't really working for me. So I dropped out. And yeah, my friend got on the school that on the program that I'm currently studying, and he had a good reviews. So I was like, yeah, I enjoyed two things, or at least I enjoyed 2 subjects on high school. I enjoyed physical education, and I've enjoyed English. So kind of like those 2 things combined. And my mother is a teacher as well. So I guess you can see a pattern there. So yeah, it's been great. It's been great. It's a very, very rewarding job, and working with young people, especially in this. Yeah, a lot of people would say that, especially in this day and age, it's difficult, which it kind of is, but it's also rewarding because kids nowadays are developing so much quicker than before. They have amazing skills. Uh, like it's a very rewarding job, and I'm glad I chose it.
Yeah. And something I think that doesn't get spoken about enough is the importance of being able to change your vocation or what you're studying if you're not happy with it. You know, like if you're studying economics and you're thinking this just isn't for me. I think people can feel very nervous about like making the change to something else, but it's such a healthy thing to do. You know, if you're rather than pushing through something you know isn't right for you and is potentially getting into a career you know won't be right for you because you feel the pressure to just stay in it. Um, I was talking to somebody about this the other day, and you know, again, how happy they were that they had made the change, even though at the time they felt quite nervous about it. So that's great that you've done that too, and you're in a vocation that you feel is right for you. You know.
Yeah, I don't even know why I got to economics school. It was the COVID time, so and there was a there was high pressure on us as a final year high schoolers, that we need to choose something, because if we don't, then we're out of job, we're not students anymore. You will lose a lot of benefits in Slovakia when you're not a student. So yeah, it's a lot of pressure. And I remember just choosing something in for the sake of just choosing something. And I really wanted to kind of please my parents. So I chose that, but I had no idea. I always hated math. What like where it really is uh unbelievable for me that I could endure even 1 year on the economics school, even though my least favorite subject was math. Yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah, me too. I'm absolutely terrible at maths. I have to. I have to. If I have to get like Google to help me with like basic division.
thank God for ChatGPT. Thank God.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, anyways, Ivo, can you tell us a little bit about your experience with DPDR and how did it start for you?
Yeah. So as you mentioned, in the introduction, I it all started on one night out with my friends. I remember, I was talking to my girlfriend that night. Like, we're going out with our inner circle, and she was like, "Yeah, but I'm tired, so go have fun, etc." So that would change a lot of things if she was there, but she wasn't, and yeah, that night happened. It was just a regular night, I would say. We had a couple of beers. Um, really, our inner circle. I have great friends, so we had a great time. We kind of did tour the bar, which is like a phenomenon of yeah, touring the bars and like getting one or two beers in there and then moving on to the next one.
Oh, we call it pub crawl in Ireland.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of similarities between Slovakia and Ireland, by
I
the way.
think so.
So yeah, we did the tour the bar, and the last stop was one bar in the center of Bratislava. Uh, and I remember everyone was just so tired. Everyone was okay. I'm going home. So we said goodbyes, and then I remember meeting two guys. They were from Asia, but I don't remember the country. But I'm a really like social guy, especially when I have few beers in me. So I tried to talk. Yeah, we started talking. We started. I was very curious about their stay in Slovakia. Why did they? Because Slovakia is not really a tourist destination, so I was like, why did they come? And so they were studying there, whatever, that doesn't matter. However, one guy just out of nowhere, I was offering them that I can buy them a beer, and they were like, "No, man, we're not drinking." So I was like, "What you're doing?" And that's when the guy brought up the vape pen, which I don't have it like 100% confirmed that it was HHC. This is something I really like. It probably felt like it from what I've read. But at that time, as I've said in the email, it was a big boom in Slovakia, which is a very, very unusual situation because Slovakia has a really strict legislation about things like marijuana and substances like that. So it's a very unusual situation, and it came out of nowhere into Europe, and it spread everywhere. At that time, there were also vending machines with the vapes in the city, and vending machine is something that you cannot really regulate it. So I remember that time in the news there was kids that were buying these products, the HHC products, which is really disturbing. But yeah, he brought up the pen. I took one puff because I was really curious about what it is. I've read and heard so much about it, and then yeah, everything changed. So it was maybe a second's, minute tops. Me feeling the symptoms, like very severe symptoms. So severe anxiety, panic attack after panic attack, hallucinations. That was a big one. Never really had hallucinations before, outside of fever and like those things. So yeah, that was a tough time for me.
Where were you when this was happening? Ivo, were you still in
Yeah,
the car?
I walked out of the bar when I started to feel funny, and I was like, I need to get a breath of fresh air. And yeah, and then it started kicking in more. First panic attack, second one, third one. And I was at from the bar, there was like I don't know, 10 meters down the road, and there was like some kind of like I waited for my friends to pick me up outside of the shop. So yeah, really 10 meters from the previous destination that I was. And I thought I was walking miles and miles. So it was really strong, strong state that I was in. However, yeah, as I mentioned, I called my friends up. Thank God that she uh, uh on the phone because it was morning. So it was like one of the friends that I was with during the night. She was home 2 hours before, but thank God she was able to pick me up. And yeah, she kind of saved me with her boyfriend. They kind of saved me. Uh, they they took me like to their apartment, and I slept. I was very sick. I remember I was very sick. And then, yeah, as you mentioned, waking up the next day, full blown DPDR. So, yeah, that's pretty much it about the night. I think I have some kind of missing details, and they still did not come to me. But that was the general thing that I remember happening.
Mm.
Very like right now I'm laughing about it, but I remember that it had a really strong mark on me. Even during the DPDR, I viewed it as something was shameful. Like, I really felt strong sense of shame that, like, I'm an athlete. What am I doing? I'm supposed to be a teacher, and like, all of those thoughts kept creeping on me, and yeah, so strong sense of shame and regret. But after the DPDR subsided, I just remember laughing at it with my friends. Like, do you remember that night? I was so wasted. Yeah. But it was a really good kickstart for the condition. It was also a very stressful period during my life. So even before that night, I remember that I was very overstimulated, and then the physical exhaustion, and then the substance use. Yeah, it was like a perfect storm for this disorder. So
That's it's such a common story. I'm sorry you went through that, and it's something I hear about all the time, and not too dissimilar to what happened to me. Back in Amsterdam in 2005, I smoked a joint that was way stronger than I thought. But yeah, there's nothing quite like that feeling of taking something, and you're having a good time. You're with people you or you trust, or even people you've just met, and then it just keeps getting more and more intense, and you start thinking like, what have I done? Like, what is going on now? And now I'm hallucinating, like, and something has gone wrong, like, or I've been given something that's been poisoned, or I was sure that like I'd been laced somehow. And it's very, very, very frightening. That night, Ivo, did you get any sleep in your friend's place, or were you up for the night?
yeah, I got about 2 to 3 hours of sleep, but it was like the sleep of literal exhaustion. Like, it was not a sleep where you fall asleep. It was like that. So it was just a pure physical need to sleep, because that the brain was at the brink of just breaking down. So I think my brain just shut it off. And yeah, it was not a really natural falling asleep as you do in your own bed. It was like just this. Yeah,
Exhaustion. Your body's just like, nah.
total. Yeah,
Your brain's been going at like 150 miles an hour for the last few hours. Yes, you're just like, nah, I can't do this
it
anymore.
was like, yeah, the brain imagined and warned me about thousands of scenarios that brain thought were happening at that time. So if you look at it from like biological or scientific perspective, the brain really thought that you are in that kind of danger, and he was like doing its job. He was doing what brains should do, but yeah, it was very misplaced and in a very bad place, bad time. So like kind of a perfect storm, but these things happen to people all the time. Like, I always thought that I was so special when it happened. Not only the DPDR, but the panic attacks from weed, and like from the HHC. These things happen all the time. I remember talking with my friends about it, and probably every one of them had their own set of bad experiences with these kinds of substances. So I think it's very so I really like to refer to myself as like I don't really do recreational drugs. In Slovakia there is a big culture of drinking. So uh yeah, I do that a bit sometimes, but it's very, very important to preach moderation and to really warn about the dangers that these recreational drugs possess, because combined with the setting that, for example, I've had, that you're alone in the city and you're just trying something new for the first time, it's really not a good start for these kinds of things. So I think it's very important to like bring awareness to this kind of topic, because whenever we used to have in high school and in elementary school as well, we used to have policemen come and tell us about the dangers of recreational drugs, um, which, looking back on it, was a pretty good thing to do. Like it was the awareness is always a good thing, right? Especially among teenagers and adolescents. But you don't really hear about uh, side effects like this, like panic attacks, severe uh, anxiety disorder risk. So when I look back on uh, my predispositions for this kind of condition, there are, it it all makes sense now. Like, I'm an anxious person, always been, not like really anxious, but I remember most of the time in my life where I had something really serious to think about. Uh, I remember that I was always ruminating about it, like really thinking hard about it, and it really uh, just swallowed my life as a whole at that time. So yeah, uh, so that's the first thing. Then the substance use or substance inexperience. That's second thing. The setting itself. I think that a lot of people are not talking about, uh, for example, that they have the DPDR. I think much more people have DPDR than we know, and that they've gone through it, or some are lucky to get out of it, but on their own, for example. But I think a lot of people have DPDR, and I genuinely feel sorry for them, because it's not that hard to, get out of.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's estimated that 1 in 50 people will develop depersonalization disorder at some point in their lives. That's from a study from that the Guardian newspaper reported on a couple of years ago, and I mean it may even have gone up in the meantime with the legalization of weed across the states and across the world, like, which I'm I'm very for that. I think the legalization of weed is a very positive thing, but it has to come with, as you say, like, an awareness of the side effects of them. I think when people know about that, it doesn't stop the experience, but at least it give you some context for, okay, this could happen. That if and when it does happen, you can at least put a label on it more quickly than if you just think that, what most people think, which is just, I'm going crazy. But yeah, it is an incredibly common experience. And becoming more so. So the more information that's out there about it, the better. So Ivo, when you woke up that next morning, then talk us through that. So you wake up on the couch of your friend's place, and
Yeah.
how about that morning?
So I woke up. I remember, first thing that I remember, even before I actually opened my eyes, I remember feeling kind of like off. This is not the view of life, the POV that I've like, no, this is something a bit different, and yeah, in a negative way. Like, this really is causing me discomfort. But I was like, all right, this is maybe from the HHC. I still don't know how much the how much the substance is, like, in your bloodstream. I still don't know how the how much time needs to pass before you stop experiencing all of the sensations and whatever. Because of course, I knew about, for example, alcohol is in your bloodstream, uh, regular weed and stuff like that. But I had no experience with the HHC. So I was like, okay, this is very logical explanation that it's it's because of that. And it's like kind of a lasting symptom because, I don't know, I'm heavier, I maybe, like, I have more body fat, so it stores within me for a longer time. So try to come up with several logical explanation, but I was not really believing them. It was just something that at that moment was calming me down, but in deep down I was not really believing that this is actually it. So there was a part of me that thought that, yeah, something's wrong. So I remember helping my friends clean up the apartment for a bit, and then a very strong sense of guilt and shame, especially because yeah, my girlfriend was still in our apartment, and I have not came home. So I just immediately tried to, like, reassure her that I'm okay, that everything's fine. She said, "Oh, you texted me last night," and I was like, "What?" So I brought up my phone, and yeah, there was a text that said that, yeah, I'm not in a good place right now, but I will be okay. Nika and Lenny, my friends, were picking me up, so yeah, I'll be okay. I'll come back home the next morning. So, and what I remember is a very strong feeling of disbelief, of doubt, that it could not have been me writing these texts, because I was such a bad place, completely in disarray, completely in, like, chaos. I could have not, like, bring up those words together. So yeah, and that feeling of disbelief actually became a trigger for more DPDR, more anxiety. So I remember that, and that really stuck with me. But then again, I was more focused on the real things, and, for example, on my relationship, and on my, like, all of the real things that I need to do to make everything right. So that kind of helped me because I was focusing on something and I was not thinking about the symptoms and the thoughts that pop up in my head. Yeah. So that morning was really a kickstart, but it was, didn't know what it was, never experienced anything like that. But I remember that when I got home, I tried to sleep, and that was unreal. Like that the feeling that I've had when lying down, closing my eyes, my whole world started to spin. And I remember lying there on my couch, and then the sensations came. Like, these were not hallucinations, but they were like very visual, intrusive thoughts. Like a lot of scenarios happening at the same time in your head. Thoughts with no pattern, like just the random things that have, some of them have like strong emotional mark on you, like some really good or bad memories. Some of them are just random. And I also remember that my head was trying really hard to figure them out. Like they must mean something. And yeah, so this was like a intro to the DPDR.
Yeah, yeah. It's a very, very confusing experience, especially at the start where you don't know what's going on. And so you, those symptoms then, Ivo, am I correct in saying that those lasted for how long until that initial bout of DPDR lasted for how long until it dissipated? How long did you have it?
Yeah, so the first bout was 1 week.
Okay.
I think precisely 1 week. I remember that 3 or 4 days into the first bout, I remember thinking that, yeah, this is kind of subsiding. This is kind of calming down because I had for example, really good night's sleep. So it kind of calmed down. But at that time, I remember that thoughts like this is schizophrenia or bipolar disorder or very severe brain damage. These were the kind of thoughts that were triggering me. So, and I also thought, again, I had no idea that this is DPDR. So this is very, very unusual thing, especially now that I've heard so many recovery stories. That I've never heard this kind of thing to happen to anyone. Is that I stopped having the first bout of the PDR when I actually believed that it was something else. I thought that it was still from the HHC and combination with alcohol, and I thought that, okay, this is just a really long hangover or something like that. And I actually believed that. I remember believing that 100%. Like, this cannot be anything else. Yeah, there were thoughts like schizophrenia and whatnot, but I was like, okay, but schizophrenia doesn't subside when you calm down, right? I'm not a healthcare professional. In no way I'm an expert in this field, but I guess schizophrenia has different characteristics. And yeah, this felt like some kind of anxiety, but a very severe one. So I remember that practicing this kind of pattern that everything will be all right and this is just a hangover or something like that, and not caring about it will eventually make it better, well, that helped. And after 1 week, I remember going to sleep and waking up the next day, and I was like, okay, these weird feelings that I've had throughout the whole week are gone, and everything is okay. And for a time, they were. So yeah, it was very curious. That first week of DPDR.
Yeah. And it's interesting what you say that, just thinking about it as what if this is just a really long hangover, and then that causes it to diminish. But the thing is that it makes complete sense, because if you can, like, so much of recovery from any anxiety-based condition and so much of the work that's done in cognitive behavioral therapy is about just putting labels on things, because when you label something, you contextualize it and you're able to work it into a narrative and then let it go. When you understand this, the DPDR is ultimately just anxiety and the symptoms of anxiety, that then you can start to let it go. So when you put that label on it and say, this is just a really long hangover, even though it was the incorrect label, it was actually still a label, and it gave you just the permission to say, okay, I like this. Okay, this isn't schizophrenia, because schizophrenia, as you said, doesn't stop when you calm down. So I put this label on it and I allow myself to let it go, so it makes sense. But unfortunately, it was the wrong label. But if it works in the moment, it still works. So between then, Ivo, and 3 months later, the DPDR was essentially gone. And then so what happened then 3 months later?
Well, it was a time where I was very active, but also very stressed. So under a lot of pressure. So it began after. So the day started like this. I woke up at around 5 a.m., drank a whole cup of coffee on an empty stomach, and let's go. And so, and then I remember going to Thai boxing class, Thai boxing, well, training. So Thai boxing, as you can imagine, is really, it's not a sport for calming you down, really. It's more of an adrenaline sport. So yeah, had a really intense workout, got beat up a bit. Remember coming home, I was here alone. My girlfriend was at work, and I remember this very, very thoroughly. Um, I was sitting here with my phone in my hand, and again, I haven't eaten yet, so maybe that added up to the general anxiety that I've had. So yeah, I was doing something on my phone. I was editing a video of my family. It's kind of like an appreciation post. Back then I had Instagram, so sometimes I did these kind of videos on a, I don't know, half a year's basis, where I would put all of the photos in there, put some music up there, and like do really nice appreciation post video. And I remember going through those photos, and I was like, I, I, I don't feel anything. Like, it's almost like I don't know them. And that was something that hit me right through the chest, because yeah, that is really something really sensitive to me, like my inner circle and my friends and my family. And this was something that I've not experienced before, anything remotely like this. So yeah, just a very weird sensation that immediately spiked my anxiety levels way up high. Just couldn't comprehend how these kind of that kind of sensation can be possible, because it was like really never experienced it before. And of course, as I mentioned, it was 3 months after the initial bout, so I I did not put the two and two together. Like it was not something like I immediately knew that, yeah, this is it from back then. It was because like anxiety is very tricky and very sneaky sometimes, but you cannot really like put it into one category when with it was very hard to just imagine that this is the same thing that was happening to me before, but in a much stronger, sensitive version. So yeah, that kickstarted the second bout of DPDR that lasted around a year and a half. Yeah. So very sensitive topic, just kind of like also a perfect storm. A lot of caffeine, no food, exhaustion, physical and emotional or mental as well. And then a very good, sensitive, strong trigger. It's kind of like perfect storm as well. I also like the analyzing these things, like because it helped me during the journey, actually logically explaining that, yeah, okay, I haven't eaten, I had a lot of coffee. This explains why I'm anxious, etc. So yeah.
Okay. Um, so yeah, I think in my introduction, I said it lasted a year after the second bout lasted a year, but you said it was a year and a half. Was that right?
Yeah.
The second bout. Okay, sorry. Apologies for that. So Ivo, can you tell us about some of the symptoms you experienced in the second bout over that year and a half?
Yeah, those were much more complex. Those were much more, yeah, that those were stronger, more complex, more emotional, like more like like anxiety actually found found a way to like breach the defenses in my mind. So I was without any defense. Like I all of the intrusive thoughts, all of the sensations and feelings were at that time targeting the weakest points that I've had and most sensitive areas of my life. So my symptoms were a very strong fear of hurting others, especially triggering were, for example, objects like knives, the depiction of guns in the movies, for example. I don't know, electricity. I remember being very panicky about how my girlfriend doing, like she was throwing well, we do this very specific thing in Slovakia where we have a carpet and we just smash it out of the window. So like it's part of the cleaning procedure. So and we live in a very high floor. We're on the 9th floor, so yeah, I remember being very panicked about that one. That she might fall out, or I might, I may push her or something like that. So these were the really disturbing thoughts that I've had. I couldn't comprehend and couldn't understand why am I having them, and then spiraling into uh ruminations about, is there a part of me that actually wants to do them since I'm having those thoughts? Then spiraling into, okay, I might be a bad person. Then spiraling into, have I always been bad? And patterns like that. So yeah, again, with DPDR sufferers, I think very common. But at that time, I thought that I was alone in this kind of emotional state, because I've never even heard anyone mentioning something like that. So I immediately connected thinking about things like that, and then connecting with going crazy, because these are the thoughts that only a crazy person would have uncontrollably come into his mind. This is not something that a healthy person would think, right? So yeah, that was those were the most common ones, but also one very specific, probably most prevalent one, was doubting, especially when good things happened. And that kept me in the DPDR for a long period, because I could not get myself through that symptom, because whenever anything good happened, I don't know, I had a good run or I had a good workout, and I looked back on the workout or the run that I've had, and I was like, no, it didn't happen. Yeah, my mind was, no, it didn't happen. No, it was not that good as you thought. So disregard anything good that happens to you. That was a very strong common symptom for me. Of course, fear of going insane, apathy, very strong apathy towards people, social gatherings, which is for me, it's a other way around. I'm a very social person. I enjoy having a lot of people in my circle. So yeah, that was also a very strong one. And yeah, those were probably the most common ones in my case. But as I said before, I've experienced every symptom in the book. If it's mentioned on the DPDR website, I had it. But that's another phenomenon that I don't remember, because I don't care. So, and as you stop caring, you kind of it's a very state specific memory kind of thing. So I just cannot connect with that. But yeah, those that I've mentioned are the ones that were the most common one.
Okay. And at what point, Ivo, did you find out it was called depersonalization? How did you come across that term?
Yeah, it was not that long after the start of the second bout. Yeah, so the first bout that lasted a week, and then 3 months later, probably a week after the start. And I found out about it thanks to you, naturally. So, I remember Googling my symptoms, fear of hurting others. Then there was the feeling of I'm not myself, very losing control of your own limbs, not feeling them as your own. Oh, weird PO view of the world around you. Pain in your eyes and in your neck. Googling those symptoms just came up with Google came up with the depersonalization, derealization, and remember Googling a bit with about the depersonalization, derealization, then finding your website where it was like actual. I remember the joy I felt during that. Like, remember just looking at the list of symptoms that you had there listed, or the description of the disorder itself. And I was like, yeah, that's me. And not only it is me, but it's like, it's not that bad. And you were actually the first person that kind of took a different approach to that because before I discovered you, it was always something worse than I thought. And suddenly it was something, well, a lot more manageable and a lot less serious. And that helped a lot. That just lowered my anxiety so much that I was like, yeah, I can actually do it. But before that, I thought that I had no like support because really no one would understand you. No one. Even the most, like, the closest people that I have were not able to comprehend what's happening. And I don't blame anyone, because it really is something very abstract, hard to describe, hard to wrap your head around. And yeah, so actually giving it a name, giving it a label, as you said, categorizing it into, anxiety disorder, symptoms are like this. Treatment can be this, it can be this, it can be this. It can last, but usually don't last around, and etc. So for me, as a very like rational or logical person, I like to think in patterns. Like, I like to have a clear structure on things and thoughts as well. It helped me a lot because that actually opened a door for me to actually follow some kind of a structure, some tangible thing that I can walk. I can walk the path, and at the end of the path, there will eventually be like a salvation or whatnot, you know. So I actually had a goal. So that helped.
Right. That's great. Were you speaking to any doctors or therapists at that time, Ivo?
I was not, and I don't know why. Or I do know why, but if I could change one thing during my whole DPDR recovery, I would speak to a healthcare professional. I think it's very important to do. But at that time, I will answer the question. I just have one thing that I want to say. There's a very strong part that ego plays in this disorder, that you really, since you feel that it's so specific and that no one's ever had it before you, it really is like your ego plays a role, because you're like, they cannot like comprehend what you're saying. They cannot help me, so why even try, right? So yeah. uh I was just so invested in me being so specific and so unique when having this disorder, that I just could not bring myself to speak to anyone because I had two thoughts on my mind. They cannot understand me, and they will actually make it worse by mistaking it for something that it isn't, which is very common from what I've heard and what I've read. That many even professionals mistook it for something else, but hopefully it's better now. But there was one attempt from my side to actually share it with a professional. She was my bachelor's thesis consultant, and she is a sports psychologist. So I thought, like, yeah, of course she has an idea of what it can be. And I remember sharing symptoms with her. It was just during the consultation of the thesis, so it was not like a actual meeting with psychologist. It was like she's a professor, and I was like, okay, I might just share a bit about what I'm going through, and she might just help me and solve my problems. That was my perception of what will happen. And and after that I became like very distant from professionals. So I described my feelings and my symptoms, but not in a good way, I think. So it was very chaotic the way I described it. And she told me that, oh, watch out, it might be this, or it might be this, or it might be this. And she told me 4 different things that it might be. And that actually triggered me and made it worse, which is in no way like, I really like respect her as a person and as a professional. But at that time, that was not a good decision for me. I should have just, I don't know, probably go to anxiety professional straight on and share it with that's a probably approach I would take now that I know. But yeah, so since talking to anyone about it actually made it worse, I became very distant from sharing it to even professionals or family, friends, whoever. So yeah, so no professionals were contacted from my side.
Okay. And what was your lowest point in the whole experience, Ivo? Is there a specific time that sticks with you?
Yeah, I remember going to the gym with my girlfriend, and I always like to work out with my headphones very like maxed out. Um, and upon hearing the song Everlong from Foo Fighters, there's one lyric of uh, will everything if everything will ever be this real forever. And I don't know why. It was just a very surreal moment for me. But the anxiety from working out as well, like you have kind of adrenaline, it's pumping, and crowded area. It's almost it was always like a perfect storm. So I really thought that right now I'm gonna, I don't know, die or just because it triggered something within me, like that lyric, like if everything will ever be this real forever, that I'm actually losing it. Like I'm losing my life. I'm losing the real things in my life, relationships, I don't know, family. I might lose my family. I might lose my home. I might lose my career. I might lose my everything. Like my physical body. So also, and this was the time where I had full blown DPDR. So around, I don't know, 2 to 3 months, and from the beginning. So from the beginning of the second bout. So I already knew what it was, but at the beginning it had a very strong grip. So I needed to go through that phase. But yeah, that was probably my lowest point, because I really thought that I had a panic attack in the gym, but my panic attacks were never visible to other people. I was always like, okay, I was just breathing, crouching, trying to breathe and trying to go through it. But I was never loud, or always had that really strong social sense of, I don't want to embarrass myself. And that was even stronger than the panic attack sometimes. So, yeah. So that was probably my lowest point. But my whole recovery was hills and valleys. And there were a lot of valleys and deep valleys.
So, with all that in mind, Ivan, can you talk us through the recovery process? You mentioned hills and valleys, but can you give us a bit more detail about that? What was it like, and what did it feel like to actually finish your recovery? So, was it a sudden moment, or was it a slow process? Talk us through that.
Well, my recovery was not linear. It never was linear, and it was very like roller coaster ride. So, uh, I had a I had good times, and I've had a lot of bad times as well. Um, there were a lot of triggering things during my recovery that I needed to like disregard. Uh, but my actual recovery, like the most effective part of it, actually came after I realized that, yeah, I should just stop caring. So, the beginning of the recovery itself began after I discovered you and your channel and your website and the DP manual. And it gave me, as I've said before, the structure, the kind of a pathway towards better thinking patterns. And but the turning point came after I realized that I can have normal life. It doesn't bother me in any area of my life otherwise, that it's just uncomfortable. And realizing that, okay, I can live with uncomfortable. Uncomfortable is good. Like, comparing to what I've experienced before, the terror, the chaos, the like sheer panic, uncomfortable was good. So, but that uncomfortable part lasted for about, I don't know, a few months. So it was very hard to get out of that uncomfortable part. You feel about 20 to 30% of what you used to feel. And I think many people become stuck in this part of the progress, because they tend to disregard the progress that they've already made, which also happened with me. I used to disregard that I had full blown DPDR, just I don't know, 6 months 6 months ago, and yeah, that disregard, that uncomfortable feeling kept me within the DPDR, because my mind was always trying to convince me that I still have a very serious DPD and this needs to be treated, and the reality isn't real, and that you need to figure this out. So yeah, that phase was probably, it was uncomfortable, but it was not terrorizing anymore. So and I overcame that phase by realizing that, okay, let me just live my life, and everything will eventually get back to normal. Uh, yeah, so just, it's not, looking back, it's really not a big deal. And I've also realized that throughout the process, that even when the bad, intrusive thoughts, cycling thoughts come, I will I will be more than okay when dealing with them, you know. It will be uncomfortable, but I'm used to discomfort all the time, and people live in discomfort every day. Someone doesn't like their job, but that doesn't mean that their life is ending. Someone, I don't know, even if you go to gym, or if you go to somewhere when you need to challenge yourself. So it became just a normal part of my life, and eventually it subsided, but it was very, like, as I did not notice that I don't have the PDR anymore. You know, it was not a sudden moment where I was like, okay, I'm healthy. It was it was a very long process where I just stopped caring day by day, and eventually it was a distant memory for me. So yeah.
Good. That's great to hear that you recovered. And how was the DP manual helpful in your recovery, Ivo?
The DP manual was, yeah, as I mentioned before, it gave me a structure. So before, it was a chaos. It was disarray, and it had no. It was very. Everything was so abstract. Like, all of the patterns that I felt, all of the feelings that I had, everything was very abstract, not tangible. I could not understand it, and I always had that kind of thought that or that kind of need, that I need to pick all of those problems, write them down somewhere, and I need to figure them out. I need to figure out why reality is not real. I need to figure out why am I so distant from my family. I needed to figure out why, I don't know, I have a fear of sharp objects, or fear of dark, and things like that. So uh, it was very relieving finding a tool for bringing all of those problems into one, like, into one place, and then sorting them out in general by targeting cause and not the symptom one by one. So yeah, my life and my journey became a lot more systematic after the discovery of the manual. And yeah, it really was probably the best thing I could have done at that time, because, like, who knew that you can store your life by just living your life, you know? So it was very relieving to find it.
That's great. I'm very, very happy. It was helpful. So now that you've recovered, Ivo, a question that people always ask me is this. When you get back to normal after DP and DR, are you really getting back to normal?
Yeah, you do. You do. Same old things piss you off. Same old things. Same old things. Same old emotions. You just get back into swing of things. You get irritated by your boss and by your teacher. You get, I don't know. You're happy just because you are. Uh, you do your job and you have a good feeling about that. You play sports and you just feel joy. Everything's okay, and there is no permanent damage done in your brain, which was something that I always like feared that this will make a mark. This just has to leave something on me, and the only thing that it leaves you with is it leaves you being more resilient towards triggering things. And it also applies, well, at least it does for me, it also applies to anger. It also applies to other negative emotions. You're just not, you can grasp it and logically explain things, and you just practice not caring, because some stuff is not worth your attention. And yeah, getting back to normal is totally getting back to normal.
Well said. Yeah, that's absolutely right. You just get back to normal with the same problems and day-to-day stresses that you used to have. It's what I always like to describe as you get so back to normal that it's boring.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
know, you're expecting a big celebration, a big change, and you just kind of get back to, well, I have to pay the rent, got to go back to work, but in the nicest possible way as well. It's just no difference, no change. As you said, though, for me, it definitely gave me more resilience, maybe a bit more humility as well when thinking about, mental health and things like that. But generally, just really, really back to normal. So Ivo, there's going to be people watching this interview who may be going through something very, very similar to what you went through. Maybe they've had a bad time after a drug experience, even something exactly similar to what happened to you. If you could speak to yourself, in the days after this first happened and give yourself advice or give advice to people watching this, what would that be?
Your mind will definitely try to find a way into tricking you to think that you actually, that something serious is happening, that the disaster is gonna come, that you're losing yourself, your identity, your personality, or your loved ones, that you're diminishing from the world, that you may hurt someone, or that maybe that you're not a good human being. I just want to say to you that these thoughts only work on one principle, and that is that you fear them. The fact that you have them in your mind currently and that they keep reoccurring in your mind does not mean that you are those thoughts. It only means that you fear them, which is totally the opposite side of the spectrum. That you don't need to fear them, because you don't need to fear the reality that is pushed to you by your own mind, because it only defends itself. And try to view it in that way, that it only is a defense mechanism and nothing serious is happening. And it's only overwhelming because the current chemistry in your brain, and you are not those thoughts. And try to never connect your own existence in your own soul to those thoughts, because you never were them and you never will be. You never become them. It's not possible. It's not real. It never will be real. And yeah, just try to calm down and do not try to sort them out, because I've gone through it. I'm okay. I'm untouched. I'm better than I was before. And just try not to care about them, and try not to problem solve anything. Just focus on your life. It is much more important for you to know what the weather is than and sort of problem of, I don't know, existential dread and why you became alive and conscious on this earth. Because it's not something for you to like, it was not explained, and there's a good chance that it will probably not be explained by you. So just try not to worry about that. And yeah, stay strong. You are stronger than you think, and you will feel that eventually. So try to remember that, and just don't believe your brain. Your thoughts are not you. Your thoughts are random. It's just so random, and it doesn't deserve your intention. So yeah.
That's excellent advice. Ivo, it's been so great to speak with you, man. Thank you for coming onto the channel and sharing your experience, and being so open and honest as well about everything that happened. I know there's going to be people watching this who find your story inspirational and very helpful and motivational. So, yeah, it's very much appreciated, and best of luck with your career and with your life post recovery moving forward. And yeah, thank you again for being on the channel.
Thank you, Sean, and thank you for creating a platform that actually helps people, because there are a lot of platforms on social media that do not help anyone, but this one really does the job. So yeah, thank you. And also thanks to everybody that was here before me, because your story helped me overcome the anxiety and the DPDR. So yeah, just thanks to you for creating the platform for the community. And also I thank the community as well, because it's very important to speak up about this.
Absolutely. That's very kind of you to say. And yeah, so thanks again, Ivo. Great to meet you. Thank you for sharing your story. And yeah, keep up the good work and enjoy life post recovery. Take care, man. Bye bye.
You too. Take care. Bye.